As you can see, the sheet I wanted to bring to your attention was this one that says what's going on here. And it lists the 10 speech projects that are in this communication leadership program. And again, when a person joins Toastmasters, one of the things they get is this booklet, the communication leadership program. And it has information on the 10 speech projects. The 10 are like self-introduction or the icebreaker, how to organize a speech, how to have message focus, how to develop word usage, which is what Mr. Chen did tonight, body language, how to use your body and gestures effectively, topic research, using visual aids, learning to speak persuasively, and then finally inspiring your audience in a way that will hopefully move them to take action, the kind of action that you want them to take. So those are some of the things that the 10 different speech projects that you are asked to complete when you do this. By the way, when you complete all 10 speech projects, you earn the equivalent of a white belt. How many of you do martial arts? Anybody? Right? Okay, anybody in martial arts? Any martial artists here? No? Okay. Well, you know, like karate, right? Or okay, wushu. Wushu, right? Well, you know that if you reach a certain level, you become like a white belt. Well, in Toastmasters, if you do all 10 speeches successfully, that is to say, your club has to agree that you completed all 10 speeches, then of course you receive the Competent Communicator Award. And that is almost like having a white belt in a martial art. And then you can move up and do more things and, you know, go from white belt to a brown belt and maybe someday, maybe be a black belt in public speaking. Who knows? So our next speaker today is doing project number 8, number 6 in the Communication Leadership Program. Project number 6 is the vocal variety, as your sheet explains. As this sheet explains, vocal variety. Our next speaker, Dr. Nair, will have 3 objectives to complete tonight. And these 3 objectives, her evaluator will be looking at very carefully. Tonight, did Dr. Nair, did she use voice volume, pitch, rate, and quality of speech to reflect and add meaning and interest to the message she is sharing with you? Does our speaker use pauses to enhance her message? And was the vocal variety smoothly and naturally expressed? Again, this is right from the book. I didn't make this up. These are the objectives developed by Toastmasters International. Toastmasters, by the way, has been in existence for about 82 years. So this whole concept, this whole methodology, this way, if you will, way of developing public speaking has been developed, a trial and error. 4 million people have been in Toastmasters over the last 80 years, and so this is where this process comes out of. This 4 million people, 80 years, trial and error, laboratory, developing it year by year. So the speech title, of course, is Nature, the Parent and Teacher. Nature, the Parent and Teacher. Please welcome our good friend, Dr. Sethu Nair.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Friends from Chinese Tea Time and fellow Toastmasters. A few days ago, I was watching a TV program called The Meerkat Manor. Do you know, have any one of you seen this small mammal, about 2-pound weighing mammal called meerkat in the zoo or TV? It's a small mammal, like this big. So this show, it's a series. It's about a meerkat family struggling to live in the Kalahari Desert of Africa. I just flipped the channels and took glimpses of 2 soap operas playing in 2 other channels as well. And wait a minute, was there any similarity? I thought yes. There was love, squabble, self-sacrifice, and rivalry in all these 3 soap operas. One was a real life story. I went back to the Meerkat Manor, of course, because it was a real page from nature. Nature. Many cultures from East and West, many cultures and traditions from East and West have considered nature as the source. Considered nature as responsible for the source and sustenance of life. Poets and thinkers have they refer to nature as a woman, Mother Nature. They compare her kindness and love as the bounty of harvest, her sensuality as the colorful spring, her rage as the roaring tsunamis, her magnanimity as the blue skies. Beautiful descriptions, aren't they? But aren't they our own emotions reflected in nature than nature herself? See, she gives us food for thought, besides the real food for our stomachs. Today, I have a very special story to share with you about one of my very first encounters with nature. It goes way back when I was a 4th grader. And it was a summertime. I was visiting my aunt at her house in a very beautiful countryside in southern India. Beautiful lush green with paddy fields and coconut groves. My aunt sent me and my young little cousin brother, a 3rd grader, a 4th grader and a 3rd grader, both of us to fetch some sugar from a corner shop. Good kids, we went and bought the sugar. Then on the way back, my cousin brother suggested, let's take a scenic route to go back home. That means let's stop by the paddy field and play in the mud. I said, yes. We stopped. While I was still bewildered and waiting at the muddy tract near the paddy field, my cousin brother, with chivalry, he stepped into the paddy field, the mud of the paddy field. Also, he was well equipped, pulled out the little net from his one pocket and caught some black, shiny little fish in the net and carefully transferred into a plastic bag that he pulled from the other pocket with some water. So I could see a bunch of like maybe a dozen or 2 of tiny pearl-like shining black fish. We went back home and were punished based on the circumstantial evidences. That is, we were full of mud. But we still managed to sneak those fish into a bigger bowl, enough water, enough weeds, a beautiful home for the fish. In 2 days, it was time for me to go back to my home. I took a few of those fish in a smaller container to my home and hid them under my bed. Not the bed, under the cot. And I fed them thrice a day religiously with squished rice and little pieces of vegetable. And boy, did they grow. They grew every day, literally every day. They grew like fat and long and fat and long. And one fine day, like every other day, in the morning I woke up and ran to look at them, how big they have become. And I was shocked at the sight, what I saw there. You can't imagine. My tiny fish, my black little treasure, each of them have grown 2 pairs of legs and a tail each. They were tadpoles. They were to be frogs. They were the little ones of frogs. I was so sad. I was so sad and disappointed and everything. And also I learned my very first lesson of metamorphosis from nature herself, even before it was taught in the class later. There are many such, and eventually in my own life I learned that we all, even human beings, we all have the inherent need and ability to undergo metamorphosis of our mental faculties and life as such, as the time calls for. Isn't nature a wonderful teacher? There are many, many lessons that we can draw, gazillions of lessons that we can draw from nature. It's difficult even to enlist them. Besides being a beautiful picture herself, nature has its own principles of conservation, cooperation, and coexistence, and difficult laws, difficult lessons of survival. But there is a connection, there is a harmony between everything that is in nature, between every species, between every kingdom, the kingdom Animalia and the plant kingdom, and even with every inanimate object, there is a connection. The German thinker Goethe, in his words, he says, we cannot find anything in isolation in nature. Everything is connected to something beside, before, under, or above it. How so true? What can we give back, how can we thank this precious, precious teacher of ours who gives us with plenitude and protects us from dangers? How can we thank her? Maybe by practicing the simple lessons that we learned from her. Maybe by observing her more, or maybe by encouraging our kids to observe her more and learn from her. And maybe by practicing the lessons of adaptation, not destruction. Lessons of conservation, not exploitation. Lessons of harmony, not war. Would you like to renew your vows to nature? A good start will be to help each other, like today we are doing in Toastmasters and the Chinese teacher. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sethu. I know that your Toastmaster friends are very proud of you, and especially her husband, right, Mr. Nair. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much, Sethu, for sharing that with us.